many programs in slums. Dr. Kankipati is a member editorial board for 28 national and international journals for various countries. He is a member for various professional bodies too. He is the resource person for various universities such as Eqrw, Ambedkar Open University, Annamalai University for Management Studies. He is associated with examination, evaluation, and many other activities in universities, autonomous and affiliated colleges. During the pandemic lockdown, delivers of speeches as resource person for webinars on skill development, mentoring, counseling, online education, and so on were given by him. He is very inspiring person who's inspecting authority on Ministry of Minority Affairs for 4 years on vocational institution under the skill development program. His current research interest includes research methodology, banking, and so on, other activities like skill development, marketing, entrepreneurial development, and other designer developments too. He has visited many countries like Malaysia, Thailand, and so on. According to the saying, a research cannot be made by its dedication without an individual's determination. Yes, according to this saying, Dr. Rao was dedicated his life currently, and he has provided many other small engaged students to become more awarded on his current situation. He has shared more than his knowledge with other people and trained many more to be well developed students too. I heartily welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, madam, for your excellent introduction about me. I am very much thankful. I am very much thankful to the management of this great institution, Patrician College of Arts and Science, and I am very much grateful and thankful to the principal of the college, secretary, principal of the college, Dr. Usha Georgi, and also Director Secretary Dr. A. Stainslas and Fatima Vasant, Academic Director, Vice Principal Madam Geeta Rufus, and Vice Principal Dr. Meenaji, Shift 2, Shift 1, and Convener Dr. Sweetie Regina Mary Madam, who is continuously maintaining the rapport with me for the effective conduct of this program. I am very much thankful to Madam Dr. Dr. Sweetie Regina Mary Madam Ji for giving this opportunity to me. I am also very much thankful to the management of this great institution, Patrician College from Chennai, Patrician College of Arts and Science, and the 7 days FDP that you have chosen. The title is need of the hour, I think, and it is very important for the PhD scholars and also the faculty members who are interested to take up the project works, whether it is under ICSSR or UGC. There, of course, today we have many funding agencies, ministries, and also many ministries and government of India offering projects, whether it is project or thesis, whatever it is, but the report writing at the end of the day is very important for once you conduct the study. It's the conduct of study is one side of the coin, and report writing is another side of the coin, which is very important. So, keeping in view the theme of the FDP, effective and quality research writing, phase 4, which is very pertinent and relevant to the current times as far as students and faculty together. So before we enter into the I enter into the directly into the slides so that we can have the interaction and the explanation and all that I will give you. Just bear with me for a few seconds so that I will share the screen so that all of you can look into that. 1 second, please. Is it visible, madam?
Yes, sir.
Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir. It's visible, sir.
Thank you. Now, as I said, the topic which was given to me is report writing. I was asked to speak on report writing. The point is here whenever you talk about the research report writing, whether it is a project or thesis, the investigator or the researcher should always keep in mind certain points to undertake the research activity, to conduct the research in a smooth manner. If you want to conduct, you are supposed to keep in mind certain points so that you can write the you can present the report in a beautiful manner and a lucid manner, briefly and without any ambiguity, clear and concisely, briefly you can present it. So how you have to present the report writing is very important. Any research is to carry to a layman should understand. The point is the layman should understand the inferences or the findings of the research should understand a layman. So that because research all about the giving a solution or suggestions for the identified problem. So here two things. One is problem and solution. So research is all about the problem and solution. So keeping in view the solution you can give at the end of the day, but before that you are supposed to conduct a study, and once the study conducted and collected the information and analyze it, when the data has analyzed and all that, interpretations and all done it. So you have to prepare in a systematic manner. The report has to be prepared in a systematic manner and in a brief manner, concise manner, and understandable manner. Simple language should be given, with all simple language you are supposed to present, so that it will be the objective of the report can be accomplished. So that is the main purpose of the any report, whether it is thesis or project. Now let us coming into the defining of research project or thesis. All of you know that it's nothing but a scientific investigation, in the sense you are supposed to conduct, once you identify a particular problem, that problem has to be, once after identification you are supposed to conduct investigations, why, what, where, how the problem has arisen, and that has to be investigated in a systematic manner or scientific manner. So by collecting data, primary data, secondary data, meeting the people, whoever is experiencing the problem, sections of the people, whatever section of the people are experiencing the problem, meeting them, collecting opinions from them directly, and those opinions by administering a systematic questionnaire and all that, you are supposed to collect the data. These are all, the systematic and scientific investigation, the process of scientific investigation for the preparation of the project or thesis. Similarly, you have scientific methods you are supposed to use when you are preparing the report. So certain scientific methods are to be adopted to conduct the data, to collect the data, for analysis of the data, or for data collection, for analyzation of the data. You are supposed to adopt certain scientific methods, so that what happens, the report will become easy, and that can be easily interpreted with the easy language and all that. Of course, all those information in the coming slides I will explain you in detail. So are to predefined objectives. So the point is here, once you identify a particular problem, so on the basis of that problem, you are supposed to formulate certain objectives, why, how, where, what it had happened, the problem has arisen, and what are the objectives to find out the solution, what are the objectives you have to set forth. So all those objectives must be related to the problem. So that is why identify the objectives, formulation of objectives are very important. So predefined objectives are to be finalized, and then you have to go for, once the objectives are identified. Objectives are nothing but directions for conduct of any research. So these directions always will guide the investigator and or the researcher. Without deviations, the objectives always will give a direction to the investigator or the researcher, so that what happens, whatever whatever purpose is designed, or whatever purpose is identified or purpose you set forth, so that purpose can be accomplished. So that is why the scientific methods are to be adopted, and objectives are to be formulated according to the problem. And once it is happened and the project is carried out, and then the report writing process, report writing part comes into existence. So always when you talk about the report always, as I mentioned few seconds back, clear. The report should be clear and concise. It's not the pages, how many pages that you have incorporated in the thesis of the report. That is not the matter. The matter is that how concisely, how you have given the solutions, effective solutions to the identified problem, that matters always. So that is very clear. Clear in the sense the language that you use should always be clear and understandable, and the report itself should be easy, without any lengthy understanding should not be there. Point to the answer to the point should be given in a concise manner. The report should be prepared, and at the same time, purpose should be served. What is the purpose that you have taken up the or carrying out the report? That should not be neglected. So the purpose also should be served. So the purpose should always be served. So in that way, you should always, when you are carrying out the research project, you should always check the objectives, whether you are going in a right manner, a proper manner or not. You are supposed to check it. That is why I told you objectives are directions to the investigator or the researcher. So all these things, a clear, concise purpose should accomplish at the end of the day. So that is one aspect. And research project can be defined as researching. All of you know about any topic on the basis of theory, facts. We have to interpret. We have to present on the basis of investigations. So there should not be any bias in presenting the facts or theories that you are when you are presenting. There should not be any bias. Our researcher and investigator own opinions are not supposed to incorporate in that. It's not fair. So the opinions should be taken from the primary data grassroots level, and that has to be analyzed. And finally, on the opinions, on the basis of opinions, you are supposed to give a clear-cut suggestion, concrete suggestions or solutions, so that those solutions will help the people, whoever is encountering the problem, will come out of it. So that is the main important point, which is called as outcomes. So that is one thing. Another, you have on the basis of outcomes, implementing those facts for a new result is a research project. Implementing those facts for a new result is a research project, yes. And to meet a specific goal, that's what I told. So facts implementation, when you found certain facts or certain suggestions or findings, when you come across, so at the end of the project, if you can interpret those things, what happens, specific goals, whether you are whatever specific goals that you have set forth before you start the project, so you have to always check it whether the specific goal is accomplished or not. Once it is accomplished, and implementation of those facts will come into existence. Of course, that implementation part is not in the hands of the investigator. It is in the hands of the implementing agencies or government, whatever agencies or governments are responsible for that, they will look after. But the responsibility of the investigator is he is supposed to deviate. He is not supposed to deviate from the goals or purpose, whatever is designed, and objectives also he should go through accordingly, and he should go according to the objectives and specific goals, so that concrete solutions he will come out, and that will helpful to the at the end of the day to the sections of the people, whoever is experiencing the problem, they can come out of it with that. So that is one area. And you have, when you see objectives of report writing, basically there are certain objectives, as I mentioned, understand the objective of the report. Any report, whether it is for a thesis or any project, whether it is SSR project, UGC project, or thesis, PhD thesis, for that matter, understand the purpose of a report. Why you are an investigator? Why? What is the purpose of preparation of the report? The investigator should understand first the purpose of a preparation of a report should understand by the investigator, and that report, to whom it is going, to whom it is to whom you are submitting, and ultimately that report where it has to be implemented, who are the people to go through the report. You have to keep in mind those people, and you have to keep in mind the problem of that particular problem. You have to keep in mind, and accordingly you are supposed to prepare the report. So then only the purpose of the report can be accomplished. So that is one point. And another point, if you see plan a report. So once the research project is completed, and once you conduct the research project, and if it is completed, then report writing, as I mentioned earlier, report writing is very important. You are supposed to plan it, how to report it, what is supposed to be given in the first, what the second should come, and third, in the sequential order, how the report has to be arranged. That is very important, which is called as plan of a report. Either it is chapterization, we may call it as. So that plan is very important. So that what happens once the sequential arrangement is made, then people can understand it very easily. So one by one sequence, if it is maintained, definitely it can be understandable, and it can be implementable. So that is where that has to be maintained properly. Similarly, you have understand structure of a report. The structure of a report means, as it is also a part of the planning and all that. Usually for a research project or a PhD thesis, some chapterization we make, some 6 chapters, 5 chapters, or sometimes 7 chapters also, on the basis of the importance of the report. We may go up to 7 chapters, even 8 chapters also sometimes. But ideal chapters, there are 6 chapters. People generally will go for preparation. So this is what was the structure of the report. In that report, structure of the report. So how you have to incorporate in a sequence, as I mentioned in the first point, sequential order. That structure, first of all, you have to prepare, and that keep it in mind, and always you have to check it whether your work is going according to that structure or not. So these are all the checkpoints. So if you can keep it in mind while you are carrying out the research project, conducting our investigations, if the structure and plan is in your mind, you can always check it whether you are going in a proper way or not. That can be checked. So that is one important advantage to the investigator if this structure and plan is pre-designed. And similarly, you have next point when you come across collect information for your report. So collection of data collection, it's nothing but information collection, either data collection, whether it is primary data collection or secondary data collection. Collection of information from various sources are very important to incorporate in the report. So this collection of data also we cannot incorporate according to our will and wish. So collection of data, whatever data has been collected, that data has to be arranged in a sequential order, in a orderly, you have to arrange it, so that what happens, people can easily understand it. So next, if you come to the organize your information, so the information you may collect information when you go for libraries, or if you go for any other collection of information, so that whatever information that you have collected, that information has to be organized in a proper manner. Organized means, for example, you have gone to you went to a library for a collection of data information. You have collected certain information which is related to third chapter, the profile of the organization, or review of literature you have collected. That review, whatever information that you have collected, which is related to third chapter, fourth chapter, fifth chapter, but that cannot be incorporated in the beginning, because so that is why you have to organize the information whatever you have collected. So that is very, very important for clear understanding, better understanding of the readers. That is most important, which also comes under report writing. Similarly, you have another important point when you look at use an appropriate style of writing. So this is most important. Whenever you talk about style of writing, it should be easy. That's what I told you in the beginning slides a few seconds back, that style of writing should be easy, because the research should always be disseminated and the people should understand it. A layman should also understand what are the suggestions or solutions that are offered to come out of the problem. So even common people, because common man or section of people, whoever is encountering a problem, experiencing a problem, if they understand, then they can come out. They will try to come out of the problem. So that is why appropriate style of writing, which is easy writing, you're not supposed to use more difficult vocabulary and all that. Of course, you may be perfect in English language and all that, but the targeted people, you should keep in mind what type of the vocabulary that you are supposed to use to understand. You are supposed to come to their level, and you are supposed to incorporate such type of the writing, so that the people can understand. And it is easy to not only to the people to understand, but also easy to the implementing agencies, whether it is government or local bodies or government, whatever it is, whoever is implementing agency authorized, so they have to understand it. So that is why in such a fashion that you are supposed to write, you are supposed to incorporate the writing by using simple vocabulary and all that. So that is most important point. And you have present data effectively. So the data, whatever you have collected, the presentation is very important. It's a presentation of data is an art of art. So how you are presenting the data, interestingly, the data has to be presented, and the reader should always be it should be motivated. When readers are going into the details, they should be motivated while they are reading it. They are supposed to motivate it. What is happening in the next? What is happening in the next chapter? What is happening in the last chapter? What are the suggestions given? Like that, they are supposed to be motivated by reading the information in such a fashion that data has to be presented effectively. So that is what we call effective data presentation and all that. So a presentation means the effectively you have to present. So that effective means it's a style of presentation which can create a motivation or interest in the minds of the people. In such a fashion, the data has to be presented, which is called as effective. Similarly, you have understand how to lay out your information in appropriate way. So information or layout or structure is all, of course, almost similar. So first of all, you have to lay out the information. You have abundant information with you, which is related to the problem, and you have collected a lot of information. But the lot of information you have to, the information you are supposed to lay out it first, and appropriately you have to present it. So unless you lay out it, the information, whatever information you have, of course, all the information might be useful, but the way how you are laying out, so that is most important, because understanding point of view, the people, it is very important when you lay out it or structure it or plan it. So that is most important. And you have another important point when you see certain guidelines report writing. So there are the investigator, the reporter, the researcher should always keep in mind, see what are the certain guidelines when they are writing a report. They should always keep in mind, of course, the first one is objectivity. Objectivity is very important. What for you are conducting the research project, and what is the purpose of it, as I mentioned earlier. So that always should be keep in mind. In the sense, you are not supposed to, you are an investigator, researcher, and you are not supposed to take bias or personal opinion. Your personal opinion is not required as a researcher, investigator. It's not that your personal opinion, the opinions of the customers, the opinions of the people, or the opinions of the people whoever is suffering with the problem are most important. And you as a researcher should always meet the people whoever is suffering with the problem, and then only the opinions you can collect, effective opinions, correct opinions you can collect. You are not supposed to, as an investigator, you are not supposed to meet the people whoever is not related, whoever is not related to the problem, or whoever is not experiencing the problem. If you meet them, they will give a vague information, or they will give general opinions and all that, which is not sufficient, which is not correct or fair for the for preparation of the project, or for the submission of the accomplishment of the objectives and all that. So that is why Objectivity is very important, which should not be placed. The bias or personal opinion should not be placed in that objectivity. So that is why you're supposed to check time to time whether any bias opinions are taking place, personal opinions are taking place or not. If it is there, you are supposed to correct it time to time. So that is one important point. Certain guidelines, under certain guidelines when you are preparing a report writing. And you have technical language to be minimized. See the people, what I told you just a few seconds back, that technical language, hard vocabulary not supposed to use, because end of the day, what I mentioned earlier also a few seconds back, that a report should be simpler manner, easy language has to be maintained. So technical language if you use, so the people cannot understand it. Even sometimes what happens, technical language, the implementing agencies also cannot understand because of different because it's not that the people, every person cannot have the knowledge of all the domains or all the subjects or all the problems. So that is why technical language maximum to the possible extent it has to be minimized. So that is one aspect one should understand the report writing in the under the report writing. Similarly, you are supposed to use only past tense when you are writing a report. Past tense should be used. Passive voice, first person, indirect speech, and revise, rewrite. These are the things you should keep in mind, because the report writing part comes in the final, after completion of the after completion or after conduct of the project. The report writing starts. When project completes, the report writing starts. So that is why once project is completed means you are supposed to use the past tenses in the report writing, not present tense, because it is already completed. So that is why. So these things you are supposed to keep in mind when you are writing the preparing the report writing. Passive voice, first persons, indirect speeches, and revise, rewrite, all these things. Rewrite, draft. That is why first I say that usually we prepare a draft, and the draft many number of times we rewrite, and finally we'll come to final draft and all that. That final report or final draft can be made as a report, final report. So these are all the things that should scrupulously followed by the investigator or the researcher. That is very important. Similarly, you have confidentiality of the data. Yes. See, the data when you are collecting, you are not supposed to collect the information. You are supposed to collect the information, but you are not supposed to collect the people's personal data. Their name, their residential addresses, these are all not required, and you are not supposed to collect it also. It is confidential. Even if you collect, you have to keep it in confidential. You're not supposed to disclose it. So that is the important point under the report writing. You are nowhere in the report writing should mention the confidential information of the data opinion givers. So that is very important. And similarly, you have next originality. So you are supposed to maintain the originality. You're not supposed to copy the information from anywhere. Of course, even if it is related to your document, even if it is related to your report, but the originality is very important. So that is why the data when you collect, from whom you have to collect, whatever data that you have collected from the relevant people, that has to be analyzed, and through analysis whatever real findings comes, whether it may be negative or positive, doesn't matter. So let it be negative, let it be positive, doesn't matter, because what for we are just a investigator researcher. So we are no way concerned about the negativities and positivities. We are here to present the information. We are here to give the, as a researcher, as an investigator, we are supposed to give whatever inferences has come. Those inferences we are supposed to findings comes, that findings we are supposed to give as it is. It may be negative to some many people, it may be positive some many people. Majority people are may take it negative. It's all not our headache. So originality, whatever through conduct of data, through analysis, whatever originality, whatever original findings have come, that has to be presented. That's most important. We should keep in mind when you are preparing the report. That's one point. And you have layout as per the objectives. Yes, this I already told you. The objectives, first of all, when you have to populate, and accordingly, the project layout automatically will go according to the objectives, because that's what I told you. Objectives are nothing but directions of the project. So another important point when you see, look at here, solutions for intellectual problems. Yes. So at the end of the day, through analysis, the correct data when you collect, and the data will be analyzed, and according to the analysis and the solutions will come out, scientific solutions you can give. Those scientific solutions definitely will come out, will be treated as intellectual solutions for the problems. So these are all things that can happen, that can offer to come out of a particular problem and all that. Similarly, you have logical analysis. So the analysis, when you are analyzing the data, the data should always be supportive and logical things. Logically, it should be substantiated, and it should give a logical reasoning and all that it has to maintain, so that what happens, you can the suggestions or the solutions whatever you give, that can be substantiated. So that is why the analysis out of data collection should be logical one. So then it can be implementable, and nobody can question us. It's not the question, it's not the point somebody will question it, but we have to go according to the logical analysis, according to the correct information, correct data that we have collected. Accordingly, we have to give analysis, but it should be logical. Because when you say something, some solution when you're offering, you are supposed to, as an investigator, researcher, you're supposed to substantiate it. So that is why that substantiation includes the logical presentation and all that. That is one thing. And when you see about the types of report writing, of course, there are many report writings are there. Say, for example, laboratory reports, the medical reports will be there, technical reports will be there, research study reports, these are all. And you have reports of work placement or industrial visits, when you visit certain industrial parks or certain industrial areas, certain industries. If you visit, the report will be prepared, that those reports will be different. And reports of a field trip or field work, this is most important, which is on the basis of the ground realities and opinions collected from the people. On the basis of that, these reports, fourth one, these reports will be prepared. What is that? Reports of a field trip or field work. Collect the data from the grassroots level, or a section of people, whoever is experiencing the problems and all that. So these are the different types of report writing. Suppose the report writing for these, first one will be different, the style will be different, technical reports, style of writing will be different, reports of work placement, industrial visit, the writing of these reports will be different. See, each one report to another report, the style of writing is different, and you cannot follow, you are not supposed to follow the same writing or same style of report for all the reports. So it should be different from one report to the another report. That is very important. The investigator should always keep in mind. That's what I told you, the structure and planning, and the structure and planning is very important. Layout is very important, especially for the social science research. It is the structure and the plan. If you prepare in the beginning, so that you can go, and formulation of objectives, hypothesis, methodologies, these are all once you design according to review of literature, all these things, once you design according to the sequential order, so that your report writing also will go in a beautiful manner. That is one important point. And next, if you see different steps in writing report, if you see here, there are different steps. Of course, plan we have discussed it just now in the previous slides and all that. Now, the steps when you look at preparing the draft is the first one. You cannot prepare the final draft in the beginning itself, because there are so many modifications during the course of time. So many modifications, you are supposed to incorporate certain things, you are supposed to remove certain things, you are supposed to add. These are all things that happens during the course of conduct of any research project. So that is why any draft, there are many drafts you are supposed to prepare, go on prepare, and sometimes why I'm talking draft means it is not final. Before final report, whatever writings that you have made on different issues, that will be called as a draft. So the draft, in the sense, again, you are supposed to modify it. That sense it comes when you call it as a draft. So many times you are supposed to draft it. Incorporations, deletions, additions will take place, because when you are reviewing, sometimes during the course of conduct of report, some ideas, new ideas, innovation, new ideas will come in your mind. And with regard to collection of data, with regard to any other aspects in the structure of the project, you may get so many ideas and all that. So all those ideas, if you want to incorporate, means if you prepare in the beginning itself final draft, it is not possible to incorporate. So nowadays it has become very easy now. Earlier, some years back, 15, 20 years back, when you see preparation of report was very difficult. But today it has become very easy because of the computers and because of the technology. You can incorporate in any in the middle of the project or in the end of the project, beginning of the project. If you have any idea over a period of time or during the days of carrying out the project, if you get an idea, you can immediately incorporate in the beginning or in the ending or the middle. You can incorporate. That facility is there today now. So that is why effective report can be made. So because of the technology that we have today. So thanks to technology in that way. So similarly, you have purpose. Purpose, I already mentioned, the purpose of the project that you are carrying out should not be neglected, should not be omitted, should not be neglected at any cost, at any point of time. So the purpose should always be kept in mind, and you are supposed to check it. So why should we keep in mind the purpose? Means that the purpose, when you strongly incorporate in your mind, so that will guide you to, while you, and guide you, will help you in writing the process, in writing of the project and all that. You cannot deviate it. So that helps. So the purpose should always be, investigator, the researcher should always keep in mind, right, while you are preparing the report and all that. That is one aspect. Immediately, if you see the another reader's profile, that's what I mentioned earlier. So who is the reader of your report? Who are the readers of your report, and who are the to whom you are going to give solutions, suggestions or solutions to the problem, who are facing the problem, and to whom, what are their profile, whether they are illiterates or educated, or area-wise sections of the people. Their profile is important, and if their profile, low-profile people, if you give a report with a high language and all that, as I mentioned earlier, that cannot be implementable, that the people cannot understand it, and if you give certain suggestions which cannot be useful or which cannot be suitable to the problem that they are facing, so it is of no use. Time waste and money waste, the funds waste, everything waste. So that is why what is important is the reader's profile is also very important. You have to come down. Of course, you may be a good investigator, researcher, but the point is not your greatness and all that. You are supposed to come down to the profile of the readers, and accordingly you have to understand them clearly, their problem and all that, and accordingly you have to conduct it, and you have to interpret it, analyze it and interpret it. That is very important. Of course, conducting and all that, you may do it very effectively, but the point is where that interpretation reporting is very important now, because it is on the basis of that implementation process starts. So that is why implementation process, to start implementation process or to initiate the solution for to come out of the problem. So reader's profile should always be keep in mind. That is most important. Similarly, you have content. Content, the problem understanding, conceptual aspects, and the content of the information, data, all that also should be in mind. It should be kept in mind, and accordingly you have to process it. Similarly, you have to length of the report and all that. Length also, it's some people says that the 350 pages, 400 pages. It's not the question of the pages I'm talking about. The question is that how effectively that you have addressed the problem. That is most important. Maybe 10 pages or 15 pages, 20 pages. Of course, it's not 10, 20 pages, but I'm telling you the example that it may be 100 pages or 150 pages. Pages are not the matter. The matter is that how effectively you have addressed the problem is the matter. So in the keep, that is very important. How effectively that you have given solution, whether that solution is helpful to the concerned people to come out of the problem is the matter. So that we are supposed to keep in mind. Okay. So that is why length is not the matter. What type of, how many pages that you have mentioned, how many pages that you have kept in your report and all that is not the point. Language and tone. That's what I already told you in the previous slide, that language is very important. Simple language and easy vocabulary, and the way that you are presenting a tone, which is very important, which should be clear, eligible, and the people should always be understandable about it. And the appearance with the way you have presenting the information is, of course, will be called as appearance. Proofreading, before you finalize it, proofreading is very important. Proofs meant to be, corrected, not edited. So It's not the question of editing. That the proofreading means if any, sometimes the grammatical mistakes may be there. Sometimes the spell mistakes will be there. Sometimes of course the draft is already prepared. Basic structure of the draft will not change. The change is proofreading in the sense whatever sometimes, as I mentioned, grammatical mistakes and other mistakes should be checked thoroughly. The grammatical mistakes, the grammatical errors, sometimes we will make the change, will change the entire meaning and all that. So that is why proofreading 1 or 2 times proofreading is very important with the professionals. People will be there, professionals. You are supposed to contact them and get it done, the proofreading, so that correct meaning you can give and there will not be any ambiguity because of the wrong meanings and all that. So that is one important. And finally, you have to come to the printing and all that. That is, of course, that is one area. Now, research project report layout, I talked earlier. The layout, but earlier I did not give you the components of the research project layout. Now I'll give you the project report layout, which consists of the following points. Compulsorily, you're supposed to maintain or ensure these points. Say first of all, title of the project report that should be mentioned. All of you might be knowing it, and declaration should be given from the researcher and investigator point of view side. Declaration in the sense, declaration, yes, I have conducted. Of course, all of you might be knowing, no need to tell you because it all learned people. It is conducted by me. It is original project report, and the report project is conducted on original basis, not on copying or the information not taken from some other sources. Like that, you have to give a declaration. Of course, the declaration format is there. I will also show that a declaration is a matter of 4 or 5 lines. You have to supposed to write that it is your original work, not copied from somewhere else. So that type of the declaration you are supposed to give. After that, you are supposed to maintain table of contents. In your report, there are certain tables will be there. Tables, because through analysis, tables will be generated, graphs will be generated, and the figures will be generated. All these things in the beginning itself, you have to mention the table of, for example, for tables, you have to mention one sheet, table of contents, in which page number also you have to mention against the table, in which table, which table, in which page it appears. So page numbers also should be, so that what happens, the viewer, readers, it can easy for them to immediately open the thesis and open the book or report to see that particular table, and they can check it. So the page numbers are very important, and like that you have to prepare the table of contents page. Similarly, you have to abstract. Of course, abstract I will give you in the next slide very clearly about how what is abstract, how you have to prepare the abstract and all that. The separate slide is there, I will tell you. So in the sequential order of table of contents abstract you have to maintain, you have to put, and introduction including conceptual framework. Introduction also, of course, for each and every these points I have given a slide. In the coming slides I will explain in detail about it. But after abstract, immediately you have to incorporate, you have to maintain, ensure the introduction, which includes conceptual framework. In the introduction part, always about the background of the problem you have to mention, the framework of the conceptual framework of the problem that you have to mention, so that people will understand. First of all, the origin of the problem should understand. After that, in the deeper, in deep, if they go into the project, they can understand about the analysis and all that, data analysis and inferences, all those things they will understand later course of time. But before that, you have to, the reader should understand what is the problem, what is the origin of the problem, background of the problem, historical aspects, if any, they have to understand. Conceptualization of the framework also should understand certain points, certain words, vocabulary of the related to that particular the problem. They have to understand. All these things should be present in the introductory part. Of course, I will detail in detail in the next slides. I'll explain you. Similarly, you have review of literature. Review of literature in the sense, earlier some people, some investigator researchers might be conducted certain the studies. So on the same subject, if they conduct on the same subject on the same area, say for example on the same subject, if they conduct, why should we conduct again now means social, as I mentioned, that's what I mentioned. Social sciences is not consistent. Social science research is not consistent. So the problem today, it will not be the problem tomorrow, and the problem tomorrow will not be the problem of day after tomorrow. The problem colors will be changed. The solution, of course, problem may be same, but the situations will be different. and from time to time. So that is why, according to the situations when problem comes, yesterday's solution cannot be given for today's problem. Of a problem may be same, but the same solution of yesterday cannot be given or cannot be given for as a solution. So that is why today's situations, according to the today's situations and all that, the solution are to be offered. So that is today's situations, today's environmental activities, or today's public point of view. You have to study the problem, and again you have to fresh solution has to be given, because that is why it is a social science research is always, that's what I mentioned. It's not consistent. It's always, change, go on, change. So that is why review of literature, whatever review of literature is available. So all the review of literature, the investigator, researcher should go through first of all, so that he can understand the depth understanding. When we can get as a researcher means we have to study more studies related to our topic. If we study, so that we can get a lot of knowledge, so that lot of knowledge, will help you to write in a beautiful manner. The report writing and all that can be made, and also you can understand clearly in depth the problem characteristics can be understand properly. So that is why these understanding and conceptual base, you can get it through review of literature. So that is why extensive review of literature is very important. One, the investigator or the researcher should compulsorily should go through abundant review go through the abundant review of literature, so that it helps in preparation of the report effectively, so that the report can will come out effectively. That is one aspect. Similarly, next you have, if you come across next one, research methodology. So the research method, what are the methods that you have adapted to conduct the study for a particular problem, because you want to give a solution for the problem. That's what in the beginning I told you, research is all about a problem and solution. That's all. It varies between these two, problem, solution. So in between all the research process will engage. So that is one input. So what type of methodology is adopted? Of course, there are different types of methodologies will be there to conduct a particular study, but according to the characteristics of the problem is important. You have to identify first of all, and according to that, you have to adopt the suitable method for the conduct of research and all that. So that is why conduct of selection of or adoption of methodology is very important for the problem. It is all on the basis of the problem that is chosen. So that is one important point. And finally, the methodology, which includes, of course, in the later slides I will explain, the primary data, secondary data, the tools that are used for analysis and all that will be incorporated, and size of sample size, how many people are required to collect the data, how many people, what is the total population, and out of total population, how much sample we are supposed to choose. All these things you are supposed to incorporate in the methodology. So once you incorporate these methodology, and then data collection, after once the data is collected, results and discussions, analysis, results and discussions will take later part. And after that, on the basis of results, on the basis of findings and suggestions, on the basis of findings, results, discussions, and suggestions, conclusions, summary can be offered. Okay, like that. References, and finally references, bibliography, appendix are to be incorporated. And title of the project report, yes. And in the beginning, in the previous slide, if you just see title of the project, here there are all these titles I have, all these points I have mentioned. Each one point I will explain now in detail. Though now, if you see the title of the project, title in 10 to 12 words. It should not be more lengthy title. If it is more lengthy title in a sentence manner, if you prepare a title, again there will be a confusion. People cannot understand it. So that is why the title should not require the grammatical aspects and all that. The title means a title, and that should easily understandable. Grammar and all that not required to incorporate in that. The title should understand with a simple words, and the words most probably you are supposed to maintain 10 to 12 words. Okay. So you have to choose the title and incorporate. If a very large title, huge title, if you select, then understanding of it will take a lot of time for understanding of the title itself. So understanding of the title itself takes a lot of time. How can you understand the entire project? That's a problem. So that is why in a simpler manner the title has to be designed. Similarly, you have as short as possible. That's what The title should be as short as possible and no shorter. It does not mean that is only 2 words, 3 words, not like that. The title, the reasonable words, sufficient words must be there, and complete meaning it should give. The title should give complete meaning. And if you see the goal of the project, title of the project report under that goal, if you see encourage reader. So the title, when you go through the title, if I read the title of the particular study, immediately I should motivate towards the project. Yes, I have to. What is this? It is something surprise. Let me go into the report like that. I should feel. So that type of the motivation should come. So that how it has to come means the title has to create the learner towards the reading of the project. So what is happening next? What is happening next? Like that, some inspiration the title has to create in the minds of the reader, so that it will be a good title. It will be treated as a good title. Enigmatic and catchy, difficult words, difficult to understand. So confusion words and more difficult words are not supposed to be. Catchy words must be there, so that people can understand. It's scientific. The title should always be scientific and specified research problem. And you should also talk about in brief about the research problem, on what aspect you are going to conduct a study. The title should reflect in it. Once the title, if you go through, the reader should understand that what the problem the researcher or the investigator is going to take up. Like that, the investigator, the common man or the reader should understand. Similarly, relevance is also very important. The problem relevance, the title and problem relevance should come together, and should always speak about, the title should speak about or reflect about the problem that has been identified. And must next one, if you say, must not be too narrow, too vague. That's also very important. One has to remember, the investigator. Similarly, abstract, when you see here, not more than 1500 words. Abstract we prepare. That abstract usually is supposed to maintain 1500 words, not more than that. And this abstract usually consisting of, these are the points, which is if you see here, this is the advertisement. Your abstract is nothing but an advertisement. Advertisement in the sense, the readers should get motivated, because your abstract should always motivate the readers. That means it's an advertisement. Yes, I have to go through what is happening. Abstract, if it creates motivation, then the people will go into the details of the project. If abstract itself is ambiguity, confusion, and not interesting, if it shows reflects, then the people will not go into the details of the project. Then it is of no use. So that is why it looks like an advertisement, and the people should create, the abstract should create an interest, a motivation, an inspiration to go into the details of the project in the pages mentioned in the report. And similarly, you have make it interesting, yes, and easy to be understood. That already I told you about the interesting, how interesting you have to make it, and how easily you have to, how easy the section of the people you have to keep in mind, and the people to whom this will reach should take into consideration about them, and accordingly you have to prepare it. Must be accurate and specific. Keep it as brief as possible. Yes, brief and concise, or brief or concise as possible. You should keep, and the basic goal or whatever objectives are there, that should not be damaged or subsidized, and that has to be accomplished at the end of the day. So that has to be maintained. Encourage reader to read the report, and as short as possible, as already mentioned, include contributions, approach, and results. These are very, very important. Abstract should always keep the purpose in the sense objective. Abstract includes objective or purpose, and methodology. One line of methodology should be there in the objective, and one line of the application, and a novelty must be there. Application must be there. Application, how it applies, and all that in one sentence you are supposed to mention. How novelty you should mention, and also a small sentence of the a major suggestion also you are supposed to solution also you are supposed to mention. All these components put together in a brief, which is called abstract. So these components must be there in the abstract, and these components should create, as I mentioned, should create the interest in the minds of the readers, so that they can go into the details of the project. And outline of the abstract, yes, now it has come in the abstract, which includes, as I mentioned, purpose of the study, yes, methodology, main findings must be there, application of this study must be there mentioned, novelty, originality of the study, further research. So your research article, or your even for research article also, you have to maintain, you have to ensure these points in the abstract, so that your paper never be disqualified, and they will definitely accept it even for Scopus and Q1, Q1, Q3 journals also. Scopus ABCD journals also, easily they can take it and accept it, they can publish it. So purpose of the abstract should contain the purpose of the study, methodology, findings, application of the study, novelty, originality of the study, further research. These are the important components you should incorporate in the abstract, so that that abstract will become a strong abstract. Okay, next, introduction. The first chapter, if you see it is as a first chapter, a good introduction with a good motivation is half of your success. Yes, naturally. So good introduction, good motivation is important. First impression is the best impression. That's what. So similarly, the introduction should be motivate, should be in the form of motivation to the readers, and that will definitely success. Similarly, you have what to cover in the introduction. There is such a problem. Introduction part, you have to compulsory, you have to cover the research problem, you have to report the research problem, need for the study, significance of the study, objectives, hypothesis, these are all right, and methodology, sample, data, source, as I already mentioned in the previous slide, data, source, statistical tools, scope, chapter design, how many chapters after the introduction, at the end of the introduction chapter, first chapter, other design, what are the other chapters that are going to followed by this introduction, what are the other chapters, also should mention, you are supposed to name them at the end of the introduction, so that people can understand what next, what next information chapterization is going to follow, and they will according to their desire and interest, and according to their requirements, they will go through it. That is one point. And review of literature. After that introductory part, review of literature, you are supposed to place it in the report writing. Focus on previous research. Yes. Here, what you have to mention in the review of literature means what you have to present in the review of literature chapter or area. Under that, focus previous research related to your research, earlier studies, if any earlier studies are there, what are their findings, and who conducted the study. These information, this that is some type of information you are supposed to mention as a previous literature. What are their finding and all that in a one single sentence you are supposed to mention it, like that, on the basis of your project problem and all that. How many review of literatures you are supposed to incorporate in your thesis or in your project has to be decided. It's not that some people they may mention 50, some people they may mention 40 review of literature, some people 100 review of literature, some people, some researchers or investigators will keep a separate chapter for review of literature in their project or in their PhD thesis. That all depends upon the nature of the problem that you have taken up for to conduct it. So that is one important. Shows how your study fills up the gap. Yes. So in the review of literature, what are the gaps that you have identified in previous studies? You have to identify the gaps, what different types of gaps. Of course, because in every researcher in his study, when he conducts, he cannot cover all the aspects. So some areas he has, because of the time period limitation, there are certain limitations will be there because of time or money constraints or some data problems. These are all the limitations of the projects. So that is why certain gaps naturally will be raised. So the you as an investigator, researcher, you have to identify what are the leftover aspects which are not investigated, that you have to identify them and note it on a book, notebook, and Like that, all the, let's say for example, if you go through 50 review of literature, all 50 review of literatures, the gaps you have to identify. So once you identify the gaps, why you have to note down the gaps means you are supposed to formulate the objectives on the basis of gaps. You are not supposed to same information. There will the same on the same information, same objectives. If you conduct the research, it's of no use. So that is why certain gaps you have to identify in the previous research, previous studies, so that those on the basis of those gaps you can formulate the objectives, and you can start your project and all that. So necessity for your study. So these are the very important aspects of a previous going through the review of previous literature is very important for formulating the hypothesis and objectives and all that. That is one important. Set boundaries. So the objectives, once you formulate it on the basis of gaps, so objects itself will give certain boundaries. You are supposed to move. You are supposed to accomplish the objectives that are set forth or made. On the basis of that, you are supposed to carry out the research. So that itself is boundaries. So summary of existing knowledge also you can get it from the review of literature, and critical evaluation also you can understand many conceptualization. As a researcher, as an investigator, you can understand critical evaluation of previous literatures and all that. So that will help you. These are all, these are all will help you as a researcher, as an investigator. It will help you in writing your research, your report in a beautiful manner, to write or to in a concrete manner to write your report, your own report. It will helpful. The review of literature will help a lot. So that is one important point. Types of, the sources of knowledge. When you see here, primary sources, methodology. I told you in the few seconds back, in methodology, all these things you are supposed to mention: primary sources, secondary sources, tertiary sources. There are three types of sources. Of course, all of you might be knowing it. And primary sources, we collect the information from the direct people, or diaries, printed diaries, records, interviews, surveys, and field work, from means collecting opinions from the directly from the people. All these through all these sources, the data will be collected, which comes under, will be called as primary sources, primary resources to collect the data. And secondary sources, when you talk about, and here encyclopedias, you can take textbooks and articles, previous articles related to your work. You can go through it, and you can find certain amount of information, knowledge out of it, and you can make use. You can improve your knowledge, existing knowledge, to prepare your report and all that. So similarly, you have territory sources: list, compile, digest, or index primary or secondary sources like indexes, handbooks, right, and digest. There are many things which are available nowadays on the in libraries and in certain agencies. You have to collect these things, and you have to go through, so that you can have an idea, an excellent idea on the topic that you have chosen for conduct of the research. And research questions, when you come back, these questions are very, very important. Of course, on the basis of these questions only, the objectives and all that will be, these questions will be also formulated through from the review of literature only. Review of literature, when you go through whatever gaps that you have identified, from out of it you can make certain research questions, say focused research questions are aims to answer the problem. Yes, whatever problem that you have identified. So research questions always should be focused to your objectives, to your problem, and also researchable. So whatever problem that you have taken up to conduct a study, it should be researchable. The problem should be researchable, in the sense you have identified a problem, but it is very difficult to research it. It is very difficult to get the information or the data. Then it is not researchable. You cannot get the information. If you don't get, if you are unable to collect the data, it is of no use. So it's not researchable. So that is why the area and problem that you select for conduct of study or collection of data, it should be researchable, feasible. Yes, it should be. Sometimes what happens, if you go certain organization to collect data, people will not give it, because they may say that it is confidential. So if it is such problems arises, then it is of very difficult to complete the project, and if the project is not completed, you cannot even start your pen to prepare the report. So that is the problem. Specific, complex, and relevant. These are all very important aspects that should keep in mind to prepare the such questions in preparation of the project and all that. How to write the literature review? Yes, the literature review, as I mentioned, should show that all relevant documents, yes, should published, unpublished, right? Identified and analyzed. These things you have to see, and you are supposed to observe the concepts and theories and methodological approaches, how they are engaged, and how they have given the methodological aspect, how they have employed the methodological aspects and approaches relevant to the topic, and you can understand it. Through that, what happens? You can evaluate critically about your present existing research, and you can incorporate it while you are preparing the writing the research report or project report, which basically includes the summary of existing work on the topic, critical evaluation of previous work. So these are all the advantage that a researcher and investigator can get if you go through the review of literature. So general and specific conclusions also, you can understand how to write the general suggestions and specific conclusions, how to give, and all that you will come to an idea. So that is where review of literature is very important area in preparation of the research project and all that, in writing of research project and all that. And setting the objectives of the study. When you come to these objectives, whenever you prepare certain objectives of your study, objectives are the steps you are going to take to answer your research questions. That's what. So research questions on the basis of gaps, when you prepare certain research questions on the basis of questions, you prepare the objectives, because both are associated. So then you can emphasize them, and you can accomplish, and you can go according to the objectives, and you can conduct the study, and with the help of it, you can start the preparation of report writing and all that. Address more immediate project outcomes, make accurate use of concepts, and these are very important. The following objective should always be smart, in the sense, yes, specific. When you prepare certain objectives should be specific to the problem. It is most important. You have to check whether the objectives, you have prepared certain 6, 7 objectives, and you should always check whether the objectives prepared a set, whether it is related to the problem or not. That is very important. And measurable. Yes, the objectives, once you prepare, these objectives are measurable, are conductable, are achievable, realistic. Really, it is a realistic manner, a timely. You can, whether you can complete the objectives, accomplish the objectives or not. These are all very important. That is why objectives should always be smart, which is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. These things should always be kept in mind to prepare while you are formulating the objectives. So that's very important. People sometimes, the researchers or the investigators should always keep in mind while they are formulating the objectives. Objectives should start with to study, to examine, to evaluate, to analyze, to explore, to assess, to identify, to investigate, like that. The objective should start with these. Should start with these words: to study, to examine, to evaluate. This is researchable. This is the investigative manner. Because you are investigating with that sense, it should come through objectives. So that is why you are supposed to use this type of the starting. You have to start like this: to study, to examine, to evaluate, to analyze, to explore, to assess, to identify, to investigate, like that. The objective should be formulated. That is one important point while you are writing a report. You have to mention. And research methods applied. There are, of course, different methods can be employed on the basis of the characteristics of the data and all that, of course. Area of study basis, quantitative, qualitative research. And quantitative is numerical aspects, and qualitative is descriptive in nature. So both quantitative, qualitative research also will be included in the report when you are preparing, when you are conducting a study. Sometimes quantitative aspects we take into consideration, qualitative aspects also we take into consideration. One with only quantitative, with only qualitative, the research report, writing of report will not be completed. It is not a complete report. That is why quantitative aspects, qualitative aspects both are mandatory to come up with the good research report. So primary, secondary data, for that the primary, secondary data helps us uh, in the quantitative, qualitative aspects. Sample size and method, as I mentioned earlier, and data collection instrument, how the data collection instrument, of course, you have to prepare a questionnaire and or schedule. A questionnaire schedule both are same. There is a small difference between questionnaire and schedule. Of course, the questionnaire is the questions in questionnaire and schedule both one and the same. But the difference is that the questionnaire, if you can, questionnaire cannot carry by the investigator to the respondents. Questionnaire can be sent through the to the respondents through mail or through post or through courier. They will send it and they will request the respondents to fill it and send it back again through mail or whatever form of the uh, post, whatever form they want to send, they can send it. That is what we call the questionnaire method. And schedule method, of course, the questions are same. The schedule method means under schedule method, questionnaire will carry the researcher, investigator will carry the questionnaire to the respondents and collect the information directly from the respondents. That's only the difference between the questionnaire and the schedule. So here the statistical tools. Of course, there are many statistical tools, but you cannot use the statistical tool as you wish. You have to, before you use the statistical tools, you have to check the data characteristics and all that. If the data, according to the data characteristics, relevance of the statistical tools only you have to use, and that only will give you the correct results and all that. And results and discussions part, when you come across present the output of the experiments. Yes, output, whatever output has come through analysis, so that output or analysis findings through experiments, that has to be present very clearly, legibly, and in easy language. Don't mix the results and discussions. Results are different and discussions are different. Through results, you have to, through results and discussions, you are substantiate certain results and discussions with with the citations and all that. That is most important. If it is primary base results, of course, for that also you have to substantiate some if it is required. So substantial citations are to be used, more citations, so that it will give you a lot of the strength and all that. So relationship and generalizations, yes. So what aspects are to be generalized, whether for generalization, whether it is suitable or not, or relationship of the certain information when you are incorporating or writing, the relationships also should be mentioned, should be identified, should be checked thoroughly, and accordingly you have to use, you have to present the relationship between the variables or between the parameters. You have to mention that also, you have to explain it clearly. Present analysis or theory, analysis or theory, whatever is it, that has to be given clearly, concisely. That's what I mentioned earlier also. So relationship between results and analysis theory also. Avoid extensive citations. That means I told you to give citations, but it does not mean that more citations in two lines of interpretation or two lines of findings. You are not supposed to give 10 or more than 10 citations, because sometimes citations are more and your findings are less. Findings information is less. It should not be like that. So one or two citations you are supposed to mention to support your results and all the discussions and results. That is one important point. And again, conclusion, when you come to the conclusion part, summarize the total report and provide suggestions. Yes, you have to summarize the total report, you have to summarize, and then on the basis of that, suggestions are to be made. So here, when you prepare the conclusions, there are certain do's and don'ts, which are very, very important. One should not forget. Say, for example, if you see here, the do's briefly summarize some of the main points. Say, for example, keep it short and sweet. So the conclusion should always be keep it short and sweet, and you should always all the total information should come out in the conclusion, and it give total picture of the report and all that. So that is why summarization of the main points of the report. So that you have to take care about when you are giving certain when you are giving or when you are reporting the conclusion on that. Try to sound authoritative on your subject. End with a flourish, with a positive sense. Any conclusion should not be ended with a negative sense or unmotivated things should not be placed. A positive sense you should reflect, so that what happens, there is there is a motivation for the future, so that the people can be positive and they will move forward. So that is one important. These are all do's which understand, keep in mind before you start the conclusion. Um, Next, don'ts, if you see, don't quote if possible. If possible, this word is no way got no place in the conclusion, because already the project has been completed successfully. Once the project is completed, now you are supposed to give a conclusion. And if possible, where is the question of if possible? That doesn't arise. So it is already made, and the question and the entire project is there in your hands, and the results are also there in your hands. So if possible, sometimes the people, researchers, investigators use if possible. If possible, are not supposed to use anywhere in the conclusion. Don't use fluffy language, and don't lead the reader astray with a new material. New information should not be included in the conclusion. Whatever you have done, whatever the inference is given in the or came out the output from the through your analysis, that only has to mention in the conclusion. A new information, new material are not supposed to incorporate, because it is not took place. It is not took place in the during the course of project work. When it is not took place in the course of project work, how do you incorporate in the conclusion? So new things which are not related to the present work should not be included in the conclusion. That's most important. Don't focus on minor point or issue in the article. Yes, article or project report or any the thesis, and don't start your conclusion with any of these words. You're not supposed to start with because you have put a subheading as a conclusion, and after putting a heading of conclusion, then people sometimes will use in conclusion, finally, in the end. Already you have put a heading that conclusion, and once you put a conclusion heading, there is no need to use again in conclusion, finally, in the end. All these words you are not supposed to use it. And after that, after the conclusion, you are not supposed to forget about the further research. Further research is very important. Further research, how to be mentioned, means whatever things that you have not investigated, whatever things that left over from in your project, in your study, you have to identify them, and you have to mention as a future further research or future research, so that it will be helpful for the next researchers, next investigators to conduct a study on those aspects. That is most important. And when you come to the citations part, different citation styles formats. Now you can see here, American Psychological Association APA 7th edition, which we are following it, APA 7th edition, and that is APA means American Psychological Association by name, and Modern Language Association MLA style, Chicago, Turabian, IEEE, Harvard, Vancouver, ABNT, ACS, ACM. These are all different types of citations, but we use generally APA 7th edition. So like that. And references, APA 7th edition references, for example, you are supposed to mention like this. You must arrange the references like this. Article, say for example, article, if you are quoting if you are mentioning an article, then say for example, Srinivas Rao, okay, his study, if you mention as a reference. Srinivas Rao, okay, you have to mention first the author name should mention in which year he published the article or the conducted the study 2020 income generation schemes for sustainable development of tribal women human and the journal where it is published humanities and social. After the title you have to mention the journal name and volume number and if it is any DOI is there, DOI has to mention and ISSN number. If any impact fact is there, one by one you have to mention like that. Similarly, in the form of book format, how to mention in the form when you are mentioning a book in the reference, you have to mention the person name first PK Gupta PK comma 2006 in brackets. Introduction to Operations Research is the title of the book, and third edition, and where it is published. The McGraw Tata McGraw-Hill or McGraw-Hill INC 34 to 96 page number, something like that. You have to mention. This is the format that you have to follow in the form of book. If it is in the form of article, as I said above. Similarly, references in continuation, conference formats, say for example, if you want to keep as a reference, then here also you have to mention the person name, author name and his surname, will stop 2015 or 2006, whatever year is there, that you have to mention within the brackets, and the title of the paper, geoseptical technology. I'm just mentioning the example only for disaster management international conference, where it is held, say for example, international conference on disaster mitigation, PSNA college, the college PSNA of engineering college and technology, like that, page numbers where it is in the conference format, where it is published in which page, so and so page to so and so page PP, how to mention. For example, in the reference, if you want to show web pages, so web pages means Ramesh, again here author name, year, how to draw in computers, title, and then publishing physics web or web information HTTP, that you have to mention, so that if you click that web link, so that it will automatically it will open. So like that you have to mention in the case of web pages. Similarly, next bibliography. Of course, bibliography is a list of at the end of the project. Overall references will be kept under bibliography, which is related to not one particular topic, one particular chapter. For entire project, you can mention the bibliography at the end of the project. A list of works such as books, articles written on a particular subject by a particular author. Referencing allows the differences between bibliography and referencing. Referencing allows you to acknowledge the contribution of the other writers and researchers in your work. Okay, and citation, certain material in your work came from another sources. So certain work, if you take, you have to acknowledge through citations and all that. That is the difference between. Now here, very important and the final tips to avoid plagiarism. So plagiarism nowadays is very important aspect. If you copy somewhere, definitely you will be caught. And there are many plagiarism checks have come today, and you cannot copy the information from others. If you copy it, and it can be easily identified, and you will be disqualified in some cases. If it is a research project, it will be disqualified, and if it is a PhD, and the punishments also there today nowadays. So plagiarism is very important. So you have to check whether the information is copied or taken from others. You have to check it carefully whether it has got any plagiarism or not. If it has got plagiarism, you are supposed to make changes in that. So to read, understand the original document, give proper citation to all the sources. Right, paraphrasing is very important. If it is there, you have to correct it, you have to edit it with paraphrasing and all that, so that you will be out of the plagiarism problem and all that. So present your own idea. It's not somebody's idea that as it is you are not supposed to copy it because it attracts plagiarism and all that. So that is why your own idea has to be mentioned, so that it will not attract any plagiarism and all. Use plagiarism checker always. So your own insights should be mentioned while you are writing report, rewriting, and rewrite it, so that all these things will appear. Then you can make certain modifications also. That is why drafting, redrafting is very important. Rewriting is also very important to identify the flaws in the writing. Once you identify the flaws, you can make changes in that, and original piece will come out. So change the sentences structure and all that, so that there will not be any plagiarism problem and all that. No plagiarism will be attracted in your. There will be no plagiarism problem for your project. So that's about the report writing. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Uh, Thank you once again for the Patrician College and the organizers, the management, the great management of this institution, and the organizers of this webinar. I'm very much thankful to Professor Kumareshan ji. Because of him today, I am on the platform today, and he is very good friend of mine, very good researcher, and a great personality. And he is a very reputed and well-known, renowned personality in South India and in North India also. We together, I am fortunate to share certain platforms with him. Professor Kumareshan ji is very knowledgeable person and very reputed person in the research. I am fortunate to have a good friend like him, and I am thankful to all the organizers once again for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much. Hello, madam.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Even Kumaresan sir is a good mentor for us.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, sir. Participants, if you have any.
Yes, any questions? If you have any questions, you are welcome. Or any additions, you are most welcome. Any questions or any additions, any submissions, you are most welcome in any form. I think I took appropriate time. I did not cross the time, I think.
Yes, sir. So there is a question from Sri Kumar, sir. Mr.
Yeah,
Sri Kumar,
please.
you can ask
Please.
question.
Yeah, please.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Sir, good afternoon,
Good
sir. It was a
afternoon.
very nice presentation, very informative presentation,
Thank
and
you
it's
so
a very beneficial to us. Sir, only
Yeah.
one question:
Yeah,
what is the ideal size of a thesis project thesis report in number of pages?
Number of pages usually it's 150, 175, or the most 250, 275, not more than that. And I already mentioned it's not the question of the size or the pages matters. The only thing is
Yes, sir.
how you have incorporated the findings, analysis, and all that. That matters always. Of course, even then
Yes,
for social sciences, the pages
yes, sir.
we are habituated to keep the pages in appropriate size. Also, of course, 175,
Yes,
250, 275 at the most you can maintain
sir.
on the basis
Yes, sir.
of the topic that you have chosen and all that. You can maintain
Yes,
that.
sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so much.
much. Good question.
There is a question from Mr. Kannan. You can
Yeah,
ask your
please.
question, sir.
Please.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
It was
Please.
a very informative presentation, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
again, I have the same doubt. For which data we have to give the citation? For which data we have to give the reference?
Citation means which data means citations. If you take information from different sources, from other authors or from different sources, we are supposed it is our moral responsibility to cite them. Otherwise, it is as if you don't cite, what happens as if it is your own, but it is not your own. Na? It is our moral responsibility. Ethically also, it is not correct if you don't cite by using their information. Because the citation is nothing but a supportive for your argument. So for that, it is not your argument. Your argument is supported by somebody else. Like that, you can substantiate it with the by giving the citations. So that is why citations, not too many citations. That's what I told you in one context in the while making presentation. Too many citations are also not advisable, but citations, relevant citations to your arguments, to your work, relevant, substantiate to your work, substantiate to your results, or even for analysis, you have to mention that you can cite it. And more number of citations are not correct. Only related informations, relevant informations, 1 or 2 citations you have to mention. That should support your arguments. That is the main important point.
Reference, sir.
Which one?
Reference.
Reference in the sense it is related to a particular chapter. Say, for example, first chapter, second chapter, third chapter, like that. There are 5 chapters. Each chapter, usually at the end of the chapter, we give certain references. In the sense, those references are related to that particular chapter only. It's not the entire, the project work, entire thesis. So that reference is in a context. You are using that reference. So that is why it is related to that particular context or that particular chapter itself. Bibliography is not like that. Bibliography is for the entire, the work it reflects. So you can take from it's all only to improve your knowledge. You can go through many books, many articles, many some studies you can go through for the improvement of your knowledge and for better report writing also. You can go through many books, studies, and articles. You can go through it for overall understanding or overall, the conceptualization on your problem. You can do it. All those things we can mention at the end of the project, which will come under which is called as a bibliography, which includes articles, books, and the studies will come in that. Referencing, for referencing, there is no alphabetical arrangement. For referencing, we will not use any alphabetical arrangement, but for bibliography, alphabetical arrangement in the textbooks and the journals. If it is in the case of journals, in the case of textbooks, or in the case of studies, you are supposed to follow the alphabetical arrangement. For referencing, alphabetical arrangement usually will not follow it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good question.
Professor Safi, you can ask your question.
Yeah, please. Please ask.
Professor.
Yeah.
Robert.
Yeah, please ask.
Julian. Professor Julian, you have raised
Good
your
evening.
hand.
Yeah, good evening. Please.
So the presentation was very informative. I don't know whether it is off topic, but
No
I just wanted to know.
Yeah, you can
I just
ask
wanted to
anybody.
know. Yes, the chi-square test. As far as I know, that is a statistical tool.
Yeah.
Is there any can we use this test for any research paper, or is there a place where we have to use it?
Generally, for a huge, for small number of for small data, chi-square test generally will not be used. For a huge data, the chi-square test will be used, because for to get accurate information, or correct results, chi-square test will be used in the case of huge sample. For huge sample.
So if your sample size is like more than 100, then you can use
yes,
the
you can
chi-square.
go for chi-square test and all that. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Very good. Thank
Sorry,
you.
sir, I was not audible earlier.
Yeah.
Can you just tell me, sir, which are the books? Thank you for the excellent session, sir. Can you tell me which are the books we should not refer to, and which are the books textbooks? That means others books which we should not refer to.
Which one? Research methodology, sir?
No, anything. When we quote from the literature, which are the books we should quote from,
Not
and
books,
which are the
sir.
books
Better,
we should not quote from?
No. You go through for review of literature. Whenever you want to go through a review of literature, you related to your topic, whatever problem that you have chosen, related to that articles, you can check it. You can go through it, or studies earlier, previous studies, any studies conducted on the on your topic or related to your topic, you can search nowadays, it is available. All those studies and articles on your topic are available. Abundant review of literature is available through online. You can, or there are certain websites also there. Review of literature is offering. So I will give you, I will mail it also. You can go through all those things, and you will have a lot of the knowledge about on your topic, on your problem, so that it will be helpful for you in writing good report writing. It helps you a good report writing, in good report
Thank you,
writing. Yeah, sure.
Professor Robert, you can ask your question.
Yeah, please.
Very good afternoon, sir.
Very good afternoon, sir.
I really loved your session. I watched every PowerPoint until the last. Thank you. I'm still there with you, because usually I attend a lot of sessions, but this took me to the right end of your session. You were so interesting and had a clear knowledge on every point you spoke about. Sir,
Thank you so
one,
much.
I just want to know your opinion on this, sir. Most of the young researchers understand or feel that some amount of plagiarism is permissible while we are writing the literature, review of literature.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on this, sir? Can you just tell me? Because from your presentation, I observed that 0% plagiarism is also required in review of literature. But what
Yes.
is your opinion on this, sir?
See, my opinion, very good question, sir. My opinion is, of course, plagiarism is allowed only 5% nowadays, whether it is thesis or report, whatever it is, only 5%, less than 5% they are allowing. If it is more than 5%, they are bluntly rejecting it. And as you said, in case of review of literature, you just go through the study. Say, for example, you take one particular study which is related to your topic and go through it, and what the findings given, what the findings offered in that particular report. You study it and paraphrasing and make it in your own idea. Write it on in your own idea. You are not supposed, even if it is a review of literature, you are not supposed to take as it is. So paraphrasing is very important in that, and you go through it and you make it according to, without changing the meaning and all that of the, without changing the meaning of that particular solution or finding. You can make it in your own word and you can present it as a review of literature. Then it will not attract any plagiarism, sir. You have to make it plagiarism. A review of literature you can take from different sources, but you're not supposed to present it as it is. The point is, what I'm trying to tell you is, you are not supposed to present as it is. You make certain changes, but without changing the meaning of the finding of that particular study. You make it in your own words and present it in the review of literature, so that it will not attract any plagiarism.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Good question.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's a very, very good session, sir. So now I call. Shall we close the session, sir?
Yeah, sure, please.
Okay. I call Mr. Praveen to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. I especially thank Dr. Kankipati Srinivasa Rao for his informative and wonderful session for today. And also I thank our management for giving us the wonderful opportunity to conduct this kind of PDPs. And also I thank all the participants in the forum. Each participant feels that the report writing in the topic has given them a new idea to write a good thesis. It's all about the wonderful session has been given by the Rao sir. Thank you, Rao sir. Thank you, 100%.
Thank you, sir. Thank you once again for this great institution, the management of this Patrician College, and the wonderful faculty over there. All are very effective and very knowledgeable people are there on the platform. And all the participants, I'm very thankful. And I'm very much thankful once again to Professor Kumareshan sir for introducing me to this college. And he is very good friend of mine, very reputed professor in the all over India. We together, I'm fortunate to tell once again, we are together given certain sessions in different platforms in India, all over in the different states. And very much thankful to Kumaresan sir once again and the management of this great institution, Madam Mary Sweetie ji, and other principal madam and secretary, respected secretaries, secretary of this great institution, all participants in this webinar, and the management of the Petition College. For all each one of you, I am really thankful for giving me this great opportunity. Thanks one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Participants, I have posted the feedback link. Kindly fill it.
Madam, shall I leave the?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam, the attendance feedback link, put it in chat box or WhatsApp group.
Only in chat box, sir. I have already
is-
posted. Please check.
It's not opening. What to do? It is not get opening. So close it and again come back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, madam.